In 2021, Lil Nas X's Montero music video, which featured biblical symbolism, shocked mainstream pop culture and enraged Christians. Music critics, though, praised him for using a pop video to highlight how the LGBT community is demonized by right-wing religious groups. In 2024, he is back with J Christ video, full of controversial religious imagery. This time, Nas failed to empower anyone except the right-wing activists and radical Christian groups, to whom he felt the need to apologize. Lil Nas X figured out how to get the attention. But whose agenda does he benefit more by fusing his queer persona to Satanic Panic, LGBT community, or right-wing politicians? The answer is pretty complicated. Let's dig deeper. Before J Christ was Montero music video, which felt like a political statement, even activism. In the music video, Lil Nas X stands on trial in a coliseum before being stoned to death with butt plugs as a punishment for being gay and damned to hell with an iconic pole dance. Variety wrote that the video changed everything for queer music artists, noting that LGBT artists rarely sing about their sexuality. When debuting the video, Nas also tweeted a letter to his 14-year-old self, saying this will open doors for many other queer people to simply exist. Montero was an instant success. It debuted at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 and was nominated for Grammy in 3 categories. Artists like Frank Ocean and Troye Sivan were also bold about their sexuality, but had never reached the same level of commercial success as Lil Nas X. So the catchiest thing about Montero was not only Nas being open about his sexuality, but the controversial fusion of homosexuality with Christianity. Seemingly influenced by the marketing success of Montero, other contemporary artists decided to utilize the religious sentiment. Doja Cat, Demi Lovato, Sam Smith. All of them managed to get the attention of TikTok, both in terms of conspiracy debaters and lip-syncing sounds. Feels like biblical imagery is everywhere you turn, with the artists assuming screaming 666 is a shortcut to viral success. But the devil started making headlines a long time before the majority of the artists mentioned above were born. The 80s and 90s was the era of the Satanic Panic. The obsession with Satan started with the release of Michelle Remembers, the book about Michelle Smith, a local housewife who claimed that her mother gave her away to a satanic cult at the age of 5. For 14 months, she would be held captive and tortured, witnessing ritual murders and mutilations, many involving babies. Public, as expected, was shocked and book sales took off. Its authors became regular fixtures on TV, appearing on everything from Oprah to CBC's Midday. Despite the book being discredited as all investigations into the book failed to prove any of its claims, Satanic Panic cemented its place in the culture. One of the most famous targets of the ongoing conspiracy of the 80s was metal music. Artists like Black Sabbath, Motley Crue, Ozzy Osbourne, and many others were accused of promoting devil worship, drug use, and even violent crime to the many young people listening. The most cited example of an attempt to censor pop culture was the creation of the Parents Music Resource Center by Tipper Gore and the other Washington Wives, in an attempt to crack down on vulgar content in music. Conducting one of the wildest Senate hearings in the history, the PMRC managed to convince the RIAA to create the now famous Parental Advisory label. In the 1980s, Republicans managed to capitalize on the hysteria, with Reagan's reign through almost the whole decade, followed by George H.W. Bush. In 1989, when Madonna showed a black Jesus and a burning crucifix in her music video for Like a Prayer, she was taking a huge risk, but knew she would get the attention. The Pope John Paul II involved himself in the matter and asked fans to boycott Madonna in Italy. Like a Prayer video shows the viewer racism, sexism, and police brutality. This is something that wasn't considered cool in 1989. Hip-hop has also been a genre filled with powerful statements around religion. The rap legend Tupac Shakur used the artwork of his 1996 Machiavelli album to portray himself resembling a black Jesus Christ adorned with gunshot wounds. The artwork was the metaphor showing how African American celebrities were torn apart by the media and their pain treated like a source of entertainment. This theme was reinforced in his haunting track Blasphemy, where Tupac is addressing the state of Black Americans.
Probably in hell already. Our dumbasses not knowing everybody kissing ass and go to heaven ain't going.
In a pre-internet era, these legendary artists conveyed a sense of providing insightful social protest. However, in today's landscape where Twitter discussions take center stage and stirring controversy becomes a quick route to online fame, contemporary artists view satanic imagery more as a trendy accessory than a profound statement, without thinking about the consequences it may cause. Despite Christianity being in decline, the prevailing Christian perspective continues to heavily influence the political agenda and legislation in the United States. According to the Human Rights Campaign, the unprecedented wave of anti-LGBTQ+ bills has been introduced in state legislatures across the country in 2023. In the 2022 polling conducted for the London School of Economics USAPP found that 25% of Americans thought that satanic ritual abuse was widespread across America. 28% said that there was a secret gay agenda to convert children to gay or trans lifestyles. According to Dr. Joseph Ushinsky, a professor at the University of Miami who studies conspiracy theories and their proliferation, as queer and trans people become a political topic, outrageous accusations follow. The beliefs of the Satanic Panic never went away. They just weren't noticeable anymore to the national conversation, he explains. It feels like it's coming out of nowhere today, but it's largely being driven by politicians, pastors, and pundits. So when Lil Nas X released J. Christ, an empty provocation free from any kind of musical originality or substance, he played into conservative narrative in the first place. Right-wing politicians use the controversial visuals as proof that the world is run by a cabal of cannibalistic, satanic child abusers. As marketers love to say, all attention is good attention. Thus, the religious outrage proved to be a currency that can be exchanged for widespread presence in popular culture. As a result, artists stay relevant and make money. The manner in which Nas echoes the question, is he about to give them something viral? Repeatedly in the song's chorus shows how much he aims toward commercial success instead of trying to reflect marginalized communities he himself is part of. Sam Smith and Kim Petras took home a Grammy Award for Best Pop Duo Group Performance, marking the first ever victories for a non-binary or transgender artist in the category. That historic victory, though, was not the main topic of discussion online, but satanic imagery from their performance of Unholy at the ceremony. Senator Ted Cruz and Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene called it evil and demonic. When Demi Lovato unveiled the album art that showed her in bondage while lying on a crucifix-shaped bed for holy effect in 2022, evangelicals were horrified enough to get the Great Britain's Advertising Standard Authority to ban posters in the UK. Doja Cat literally admitted she was using people's ignorance for personal gain in a tweet before she started terrorizing suburban moms in her Demons music video. While ideas of satanic abuse and queerness may seem entirely separate, there is an active conspiratorial plot, the false narrative of queer and trans-identifying people as groomers. So pop culture's winning marketing strategy, the fusion of homosexuality with Satanism, unintentionally nourishes the fear and paranoia right-wing politicians want to invoke on society. As a result, we are facing a weird conjunction of interests between two antagonistic groups that would normally want to eradicate each other. As we saw, conspiracy theorists and controversial queer artists unintentionally nurture one another by capitalizing on the Satanic Panic, but at whose expense? What's certain is, queer artists are not the ones who will ultimately have to suffer the consequences of this paranoia. From historical precedent, the true victims of the raging culture war are the non-famous members of the community being targeted. The process has already started. FBI's annual crime report for 2022 showing that anti-LGBTQ+ hate crimes were up sharply from the prior year, with a 13.8% increase in reports based on sexual orientation and a shocking 32.9% jump in reported hate crimes based on gender identity. More than 1 in 5 of any type of hate crime is now motivated by anti-LGBTQ+ bias, and HRC in recent years has been tracking a horrifying wave of fatal violence against transgender people, especially Black transgender women. Listeners in marginalized communities are hungry for meaningful representation. They need artists that will destroy the stigma by making it seem absurd, not embrace and paint it in more vivid colors. Provocation without substance, with no artistic risk, just makes artists seem tone-deaf to the problems of working-class queer people. So it's hard to relate to whatever detached millionaire pop stars have to say about God, hell, and being gay.